Ladies and gentlemen, we have witnessed here today is something that must be celebrated. Daredevil Born Again had a good episode of television. They did it. They finally did it. They wrote an episode of television. This needs to be celebrated. We will have parades out in the streets. Daredevil Born Again wrote an episode of TV that wasn't shit. It's insane. So, following on from the last week episode, Vanessa has the fucking glass shard in her head and she is rushed to the emergency room and they are doing surgery on her. So she comes out of the surgery, critical condition. Daniel then talks to BB and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out. You cannot be here at this point in time right now. She starts pressuring him like, is she okay? Because she's trying to leak a fucking story. And he's like, we're gonna do this now? And I'm with him on this one, right? BB Urich has always been a character who I think's fucking annoying, and this episode just fucking proves it. Because she then leaks to the fucking news agencies that where she is, what hospital she's in, and what fucking condition she's in. That she's alive, but, you know, in critical. And he's like, motherfucker. Dude, at that point, you gotta cut your fucking losses, alright? You gotta fucking start telling Buck or Fisk, hey, she's a problem, and we need to fucking deal with her. That's what you gotta start doing. So, this episode really goes with what's happening currently with Vanessa, what's happening with Daredevil and Bullseye, and what is happening with a flashback scenes. And the flashback scenes take up most of this episode. So, before we get to the flashback stuff. So, the Vanessa stuff is, okay, well, I'll get to the Vanessa stuff later. So, the Bullseye and Daredevil stuff is, Bullseye wants to die. He feels that what he has done with Vanessa tips the scales for what he did with Foggy, right? Because that's all Bullseye's been trying to do this season is get revenge on Vanessa, right? Because she's the one who sent him to kill Foggy Nelson. And he's trying to repay Matt Murdock back by, I'll kill Vanessa, and that makes us even again. The scales are balanced, right? So, he's bleeding out, right? He is dying. And Daredevil's like, get the fuck up, you don't get to die here, essentially, right? They go to a church, and Bullseye actually gives a really good speech about how it doesn't matter about anything, right? You and me, we are who we are, right? Doctors, nurses, priests, lawyers, it doesn't matter. You and me, we're vigilantes, we are who we are, right? So, it's the same priest who shut up in the episodes a while ago, who's been, like, the one that they've been showing. He's, like, the only priest at this fucking church. Tells them that, hey, I think the Anti-Vigilante Task Force is here, because Fisk has sent the Anti-Vigilante Task Force to find Daredevil and Bullseye, bring them back alive, because, you know, presumably he's gonna fucking kick the shit out of them. And I don't blame the Vigilante Task Force at all, man. What the fuck? A vigilante came and he's practically almost killed the mayor's wife. Fuck him, you know? So they've invaded the church, and Daredevil is about to leave Bullseye, but then he remembers something from Foggy, and he goes back. He saves Bullseye. He takes Bullseye to where he and Karen are currently hiding out, like this rundown gym. And of course, she's fucking practicing kickboxing or whatever the fuck on a fucking not a fucking beanbag, but you know what I mean, like the punching bags. And it's like, yeah, action Karen Page. I gotta sneak her in here. So that's that part. So then the flashback scenes are the creme de la creme of this episode, because they actually try to make it like an episode of the Netflix Daredevil series. It's shot differently too. It's not like this fucking box like you have with the current fucking Disney Plus shows. The stuff where they're trying to make it like the Netflix show is full screen like the Netflix show, and it's shot differently too, like more like the Netflix style. And my question is, why the fuck is the whole show not shot like that? It looks so much better shot that way than the fucking Disney Plus lens where you can tell it's a Disney Plus show based off the fucking camera they use. The way it's done when they try to emulate the Netflix show is much, much better. You can still tell it's not the Netflix, you know, shooting, but it's at least similar enough to where I'm like, I can respect it. I wish the whole show was shot like that. So the flashback scenes take place before the events of season 1 of Daredevil, and Foggy and Matt are still working at their previous job, and Fisk is trying to come up with a new avenue to expand his business. And they have the Matt and Foggy stuff is real fun. It actually feels, for a second, I did think, are they just showing a clip from the Netflix show? But no, it's a full-on fucking little case with them. And it's very well written, very tight, and I loved the dynamic, like the banter between the two of them. It felt very much like Matt and Foggy from the Netflix show. And I'm like, holy fuck! Good writing in my Born Again? No fucking way. The Wilson Fisk stuff in the flashback, like I said, it's him trying to find a new path to, do some shady dealings. And he mentions, have you heard of Bitcoin? I was like, oh fuck. No, they brought back Wesley for these flashbacks. And I was like, no fucking way. No fucking way you brought back Wesley, dude. Amazing. So happy. Wesley never should have died. He should have been there the whole fucking time. I love Wesley so much. They actually tie in Buck to Wesley. So Wesley asks Buck to take care of a favor for him. This leads into like the case Matt and Foggy are doing, because they're trying to. So Matt Foggy's case is there's this guy who, he's like, typical drug dealer gang shit, but he's like, if I go into prison, they're gonna fucking kill me, right? Because they're like trying to get him to sign this deal. Like, you go to prison 5 to 6 years, 3 to 4 good behavior, and he goes, no, there's no 3 to 4. If I go in 24 hours, I'm dead. They got men inside ready to fucking kill me. Right? Like, so then Foggy actually knew this guy. He grew up with him. He calls Foggy the Fembot, which is fucking funny as shit. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. That's a funny name. There's like I said, the banter in those flashback scenes are really good. Like, Matt and Foggy get pissed at their boss, so they try to figure out what kink he has, and they start talking about feet kinks, and Matt's like, what's wrong with feet? He's like, shit, dude. Like, it's actually funny. I was, like, actually having a good time. Right? Like, I was actually having a good time watching the show, and I was like, this I have not felt this at all watching Born Again. In both seasons. Even season 1, the first and last episode of Born Again season 1, I think are the best ones we've had so far of the whole show. And even then, I wasn't like, wow, I'm having a really good time. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's better than the other shit. This episode, I was genuinely having a pleasant time watching. I was like, whoa, the fuck happened? The fuck happened, man? All the characters seem reasonable. The writing's much more tighter. It feels much more realistic, more like, actually, like, I should be engaged in all this. A character like Daniel, who I could give less of a shit about, in this episode, I felt a bit, not like concern or anything for him, but like I felt like he was actually somewhat enjoyable for once. And I was like, this never happened before. So like I said for Buck, because that's the whole thing. So Matt and Foggy find out that the warrant they used to search that guy's house to arrest him is the wrong address, meaning it's admissible in court. So then they have a really good discussion talking about, do they, just keep filing this stuff and let it go to trial and let the guy go to prison, or do they show this is admissible in court, this warrant holds no weight, right? So he has to be like let go. So they have that really good discussion where Foggy wants to like, show it, right? Be like, hey, this, I believe in. Foggy wants to give this guy a second chance. And Matt's like, why? He's a bad person, Foggy. Like, he's a bad person. He's a drug dealer, gang guy. He's polluting the neighborhood. And Foggy goes, yeah, but he dies if he goes to prison. And Matt goes, that seems like consequences of his actions, I would say. And I feel like both of them had points. They obviously want you to side with Foggy, and they want you to think Foggy's the right one, right? But both of them had good points. Foggy brings up the guy's past, and Matt does a funny stuff where he's like, oh, boo-hoo. And Foggy brings up a lot of, like, the guy's past. He's like, he didn't stand a chance, Matt. He didn't stand a fucking chance. Drug-dealing father. Mom was a drinker who died when he was 8. Died when he was in the 8th grade, right? He was abused by his dad. He went into gang shit. He didn't have a fucking chance, Matt. And then Matt is, again, saying, that doesn't mean he's a good fucking person, Foggy. He's a bad guy. So they both have, like, very good argument points, I would say. And then Foggy said, and then, you know, Foggy's like, I thought you were the Catholic among us. And Matt's like, don't fucking do that shit to me. Don't guilt me. And Foggy goes, okay, I won't guilt you. How about mercy? Second chances. There's something like that in the Bible. So they do eventually end up showing it to the court, and the guy's like, okay, he's let go. Foggy then visits him in his apartment, and he gives him all the money he and Matt were saving up to launch Nelson and Murdoch, because they were where they aren't Nelson and Murdoch yet. They had like a book which was like all their funds, which is like $1,800, and Foggy gives it all. Was it 1,800 or 18,000? Something like that. It was like enough to like for them to like slowly start to build to Nelson and Murdoch. And Foggy gives it all to him and tells him, get out of here. Go. You have a second chance at life. And it was a really good scene with them where that guy actually starts tearing up and he tells Foggy, like, you know, despite what I said to you in the past, like, I never had a friend like you. And Foggy's like, yeah, I know. Like, it was a really good scene. And then tying into Buck. Buck is one of Wesley's old contacts. And Wesley contacted him to kill that guy because they knew he wasn't going to go to jail anymore. So he tells Buck, go get him. And Buck and Wesley were like, they were boys. Wesley now works for Fisk, so he's come up in the world, but Buck's his like underground guy. Like, so that ties in how Fisk knows Buck, because through Wesley. Then they show Vanessa in the flashbacks, like her putting together her first gallery, which ends up with like, you know, the white painting that Fisk ends up buying that leads to them meeting. So they show that, and then Wesley suggests like, you know, how about we do art gallery? You know, we could use stuff with like, you know, the art world to like do our smuggling and all that type of stuff. And that leads to Fisk meeting Vanessa for the first time. They show a bit of the clip from the Netflix show where they meet. So that is all well and good. The ending portion is Vanessa wakes out of surgery, but there's very clearly something wrong with her. Very clearly something wrong with her. Then they have Fisk, who is like, he's a fucking nervous wreck, dude. Like he's like the most rattled she's ever fucking seen him. And Wilson D'Onofrio doesn't even try to like do like the gruff voice anymore. He's just kind of doing his own voice. But I'm fine with it because it shows the more vulnerable side of Kingpin here, because he's dead scared he was going to lose his wife. He was so fucking scared he was going to lose his wife. Like, there's where it's like she asks for like pineapple juice, and he goes, you don't like pineapple juice? I don't? No, it makes your lips hurt. Oh. And you're like, oh, there's something wrong here. So going with Daniel, but there's a whole thing with Daniel here after he sees like the news article and BB leaked it. He goes, motherfucker. And then like a reporter comes in, he tries to ask Daniel stuff, and Daniel's like, not now. And then Buck literally slides in and goes, excuse me, can you fuck off? And the guy goes, I just want a statement. And Buck goes, do you want me to get the task force? And the task force guy steps up, and I'm like, fuck yeah. Fuck these damn journalists, dude. Fuck yeah. So then Buck's like, hey, Daniel, I could go for a hot dog. Because, you know, they had a hot dog that episode. So they get in a car, and they start driving to Albany. And they really tease the fact that Buck might know Daniel talked to BB, and Daniel keeps denying it, right? And Buck starts talking about there's certain moments in a man's life where he's going to define what type of man he is, right? And he tells Daniel, all Kingpin asks you, Wilson Fisk asks of you, is loyalty. Unwavering, undaunted loyalty. And Daniel's like, I've been loyal. I'll do whatever it takes. And then fucking Buck, oh my god, this scene had me cracking. So they go to like a hardware store, and Buck goes in. Daniel is getting nervous now because he thinks, I'm about to get fucking killed. And then Buck comes out, and he's got a fucking shovel and a saw. And I'm like, oh fucking, oh shit. So then they get to like this, like in the middle of like this fucking forest, and you know, Daniel thinks he's gonna die, and he's like, I'll do anything. And then Buck goes, okay. He opens the trunk. With the saw and a shovel is a dead body. And he goes, shovel or saw? And Daniel like breathes a sigh of relief, like, oh, he's not dying. Buck was just being like, hey man, are you in? Because we gotta bury a fucking body. Now if I was Daniel, I'd dig. I would dig. I would never fucking in my life saw off a fucking limb. I would be digging the hole All right, Buck, I'll dig. If you can get me started, I can get going. But yeah, I'll dig. I'll dig the fucking hole. So then, moving on to the end of the episode with Vanessa, she drinks her pineapple juice. She asks Fisk to tell her a story. And then as he's telling the story, she then goes, Wilson, can you tell me a story? And then she starts stuttering, and he asks for help. She starts flatlining, and it looks like she's dead. I do not know if she's fully dead, if that's what I'm made to believe, or we're going to have a cop-out next episode. She's like, she's actually fine. They kickstarted her art again. But for the moment, looks like she's dead. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not a fan of Vanessa dying because she's such a big part of who Kingpin is right now. And I get what they're trying to do, right? Because now that she's gone, he's going to be more unhinged, right? And if anything, public opinion is now going to sway to him because, look, one of the vigilantes went and killed his wife. Oh, yeah, he's right. These vigilantes are dangerous. Now public opinion for Kingpin probably going to soar through the fucking sky now. But the fucking governor is probably going to be on his side now because, she was a big fucking ass kisser for Vanessa previously. But I'm not a huge fan of Vanessa dying, especially when they were teasing them having a kid. And he has a son, right? Wilson Fisk does have a son. So I was like, I would have liked for them to at least have the kid before if anything happens to her. But now that's completely gone now. Unless Wilson finally finds someone else. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, the only thing I could see would be Typhoid Mary. Because she's his wife as well. His second wife, I believe. And Typhoid Mary is very integral into the story that this series is based on, which is the whole Mayor Fisk arc, where he, puts in the anti-vigilanteism, across New York. That storyline, which is what this show is kind of adapting, Typhoid Mary is very, influential in that. She is Mrs. Fisk in that run. So could that be what they're leading to? Could they eventually kill Vanessa off and lead to Mary Walker coming in, Typhoid Mary? And she will become Fisk's new wife. And they can do a thing, because in the comics, she was his bodyguard. She had attacked him a couple times because she's fucking crazy, right? But eventually, she gave her services as a bodyguard. And eventually, she and Fisk, they kind of bonded. They fell in love. He proposed to her. They got married. She became the new Mrs. Fisk. And then when Devil's Reign happened and Fisk was taken out of office, she and Fisk fled to Krakoa with the X-Men, because Mary is a low-level, she's like a mutant as well, so she can get citizenship there. Now, I don't think they'll go that far with the X-Men stuff, but could they be possibly leading to Mary Walker coming in and being the new, Mrs. Fisk? They're getting rid of Vanessa, and they're bringing in Mary. If that's what they're doing, okay, I'm not completely against this then, but if this is just, just fuck Vanessa and we're not going to do anything with this, then yeah, I'm kind of iffy on it, because she's been such an integral part. But they could use this as Fisk is grieving for Vanessa, Mary Walker comes in, and the two of them can maybe have a kindred spirit moment that leads to their wedding. Something like that. How they could introduce Mary Walker, I don't know. She was Sister Elizabeth for a bit, and she was a nun at a church, so you could do that. Maybe Fisk actually ends up going to a church after Vanessa's death, and he asks God for advice or something like that, and then Sister Elizabeth is the one who comes to speak to him, and that's Mary Walker, right? And then through that they form a kinship, and she becomes Typhoid Mary, and we go from there. Because apparently they are going to do for season 3 of Born Again the arc where Daredevil goes to prison, which I believe is called The Devil of Cell Block C. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but I believe that's what it's called. They're going to do that arc where Matt Murdock's identity gets, revealed to the public and he's taken to prison. And they are going to do more of the Netflix characters in the next season. So they're probably going to do a mini Devil's Reign adaptation for season 3 as well. Who knows who else to introduce. So we know they got Daredevil, Punisher's probably going to be there. Bullseye's probably going to be there. Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage are going to have little fucking vegan-looking white tiger bitch. Who else? Who else could they introduce? What other ground-level hero could we get in there? Who knows? Maybe we'll get Spider-Man one day. But yeah, like they're probably gonna do a mini Devil's Reign for season 3. If they do it well, right, could be pretty fun. This is just my theory, like of what they could do. If they bring in Typhoid Mary in to be his new wife, and then through her, we get Kingpin's son. Okay, I'll be fine, right? I'll kind of be fine. And I'd like to see Typhoid Mary, like, literally be, like, she starts off as a nun, really, like, normal, all that stuff. She sees the mayor. Maybe you could start her off as, like, she's pretty innocent. Like, she doesn't really understand a lot of, like, Wilson Fisk's past crimes. She's just, like, a nun. She just sees someone. She sees the mayor there. She's like, I gotta help him. And then through the speaking, she gets captivated by him, and she starts getting lulled into him. And then eventually, she gets, like, an obsessive, like, almost a yandere type love for Kingpin. And him going through grief, sees another woman love him, could maybe be like, maybe I can find love again with her. And Typhoid Mary is formed. She goes fucking nuts. And there you go. That could be it. I would be all for that, because that would allow a nice little arc for Mary Walker, right? She starts normal and innocent, and she just gets slowly her mind just goes more and more crazy until she eventually just becomes like a devoted crazy psycho for Kingpin. You can still keep her being like a bodyguard too, even if she is his wife. Like, it's the thing where it's like, you know, like Buck's kind of like, you know, the number one bodyguard, right? But you could have it be Mary Walker, like she's always at his side, right? Like she's always at his side, and if anyone tries to come in, she like instantly fucking kills them, like super quick or something. Like a yandere, right? Like she's really fucking like, do not touch my husband type shit. That'd be fun. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, I've been rambling now, talking about theories. This is great, actually. You know what? This is really good, because you have me talking about a theory. I am now theorizing about your show because I'm invested now. Who would have fucking thought? You just write a good episode of TV and you have me in. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. You see what happens when you don't try to fucking do allegorical shit and you just write a good episode of TV and you focus on your story? Huh, how about that? It's pretty crazy, huh? Let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comments down below. I shall see you guys all next time. Please, everyone, take care. Have a good day.